it's quite interesting, particularly as somebody who lives in the UK, to reflect on how Rome and the Roman Empire, as it were, shaped the world. And I think there's something which is very, very in your face about the Romans and Britain. As you say, you go out and you see bits of Rome still there. You go round the country and you see loads of towns in Britain end in Castor or Chester, and, bell rings. That means the Romans were there because that's the Roman word for camp, castra. You can see that the social geography of Britain is still configured in a Roman way. Why is London in such a stupid place, actually, for a capital city? Why? Because the bloody Romans put it there, because it was convenient for them, right? So you're kind of living in a world which still has its parameters formed by Rome, but it gets more complicated than that, I think, for two ways, really. One way is, of course, and I'm talking about Britain, but we could do the same about Gaul, we could do the same about Germany. Of course, our identity is not only formed by that kind of sense of Roman infrastructure, it's formed by our view of conflict between us and the Romans. And I think one of the most interesting things about how Rome works in the head of any Western European is that we're always both on the Roman side and against them. So are we actually thinking that we are the inheritors of the Romans, or are we inheritors of the rebels, the oppressed populace? So it's actually quite a good and edgy sort of standoff there when we're thinking about our own cultural identity. And there's no better place to see that than just outside the Houses of Parliament, on the banks of the Thames. There is a fantastic bronze statue of the leading British rebel, the warrior queen Boudica, in her chariot with her daughters, flowing hair. She is about, as we imagine, to massacre, as she apparently did, thousands and thousands of Roman soldiers about 20 years only after the conquest. And she's in all sorts of ways a kind of proto-Britannia, but she's the rebel, she's the terrorist, she's the independence freak. On the base of the statue, the kind of paradoxes about our relationship with Rome comes out very clearly, because what it says, it's a quotation from a slightly earlier poem. This statue's late 19th, early 20th century. And it basically says, don't worry, Boudica, because she did come to a very sticky, nasty end. Don't worry, Boudica, because your descendants will rule more of the world than the Romans ever did. Right? So you turn the independence freedom fighter into the ancestor of the British Empire by an appalling sleight of hand, actually. But the real, and I must shut up now, but I think for me, though, it's not infrastructure, though that's important, and it's what first got me into the Romans, it's, what I could see around me. I think that where Rome has formed Western identity, as you know better than me, I think, in this country, is not so much in infrastructure, it's in the conversation that we still have with the Romans about how politics and civic values work. And I think actually it's very interesting being in the States, because American audiences are much more receptive to this than British ones. The British ones always tend to think about aqueducts. And American audiences think about the Senate and the Capitol and the idea of how you create a community. And in many ways, I think what we really are the heir of is Roman debates. We're not simple kind of dupes who are kind of taken in by the Romans, but we're the heir of Roman debates about what it is to be a citizen, what rights a citizen has, what liberty is, and to what extent, and this is where I start the book in a way, to what extent, and it's our problem as much as the Romans, to what extent it is right or justifiable or necessary to suspend the liberty of the citizen in the interests of protecting the state and homeland security. And we are still talking about that in ways that the Romans have helped us to talk about. And I think that's the direction I'd go, sadly, rather than aqueducts.